and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to give you a full tour of my newest meal planner. This is the premium edition and it's the third version that I create. So if you're interested, you can just keep watching. And if you want to watch a shorter video, a quicker tour, I also have a video on that. So I'll link it in the description down below. So let's get into it. So the sheet where you're supposed to start is the item list sheet. And this is where you're going to enter things that you usually buy in the supermarket. And you have to do this in this exact order. So the very first thing you have to do is you have to think about your categories, and this is usually the way things are separated in the supermarket. So in the end, once you get your final grocery list, you will be able to sort and get all of the items for each of these categories together in your list. Then you're gonna move on to adding your food items. And for each of your items, you're gonna add the unit that you buy them in. So that can be box, ounces, pounds, grams, kilograms, bag, entirely up to you. And then you're gonna assign a category to each of your items. This drop down is built with the categories that you enter here. And then you're gonna move on to entering common household items. So that's usually cleaning and self-care items or things that should always be in your home. So once you fill this out, you're gonna move on to your dish ideas. And this is where you are going to save your breakfast ideas, lunch ideas, dinner, snacks. You have room for 4 different areas, and you can customize how these are called in your settings section. So pretty much any label that you find across the template is going to be found here. So if you enter your translation here, it will automatically change those labels up here. And you can also use this section to translate your entire template into a different language. You do have to do the translations yourself, but you don't have to go into every single sheet. You can just do it from here and the entire template will update automatically. So in this section, you're gonna enter your ideas. You're not gonna enter any ingredients, you're just gonna enter the way you want your meals to be called. And in this area, you're only going to edit cells that have a white background. Once you fill out your dish ideas, you're gonna see that this column is a link, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it's not working, that means you haven't added any ingredients to that idea. When it's working, it means you have added ingredients to that idea, and that link is going to automatically bring you into the very first ingredient of that meal. And this is the way it's gonna look from the beginning. It's gonna look completely blank. And this is a space where you're going to add every single ingredient that is included on any one of the dish ideas that you added here. So for example, I'm gonna add new dinner idea. And as you can see, as soon as I added an idea, this label appeared, but it's not clickable. So if I come in here and I assign some ingredients to it, so I'm gonna select it from the dropdown. If I start typing, I can select it. So I'm gonna select it and I'm gonna do 1 banana, and every single ingredient has to have a dish idea attached to it. So let's say this has 3 ingredients. I'm just gonna copy, I'm gonna select those 2 rows, I'm gonna paste, and I'm gonna add my other ingredients. Let's do boneless chicken breast and let's do eggs. So if I come back here and I click on dinner idea, then it immediately brought me into this section, and as you can see, this is now a clickable link. So the dish ingredient section is the place where you are going to add every single item that you need for every single one of your dish ideas. And this section is completely automated. It's being pulled automatically from the unit that you assigned in the item list. This is very important, so pay attention to this. When you are filling out the ingredients in this section, you need to be thinking in terms of your grocery list. So you're not thinking in terms of the actual recipe, you're thinking in terms of whenever I'm cooking this, what do I want to be added into my grocery list? And this is going to be pulled automatically into your grocery list if you want it to. For example, in here, let's do chicken and vegetable soup. Let's say I also add rice to it. And the recipe calls for 2.5 cups of rice, but I'm not gonna buy my rice in cups. I'm gonna buy it as a bag. So for my ingredients, I just added rice. If it was a bag, I could do 1 bag of rice. You could also do half a bag, and then if a different recipe calls for half a bag as well, then in the end your final grocery list will end up adding 1 bag. And then in here, just for my own reference, but this has absolutely nothing to do with the actual grocery list, I'm just gonna write 2.5 cups just so I remember that this is what's included in the recipe, but this is what's going to be added into my grocery list. So very important to remember. And second most important thing to remember is you should only add numbers in this quantity area. So if a recipe calls for half of something, you should add it as a decimal, and you should never have text in here. And then if you scroll to the right, you're gonna find this index that is going to order everything alphabetically, and you can also click in here and you're going to be able to jump into the very first ingredient of that corresponding dish idea. And once you fill this out, you are ready to start working on your actual grocery list and your actual meal planning. So the very first thing you have to do is you have to come into the monthly grocery list tab, and you're going to set the very first day in which you want your planning to begin. So you have this calendar, and this whole template works monthly. So you can decide if you want to start on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, any day of the week that you want. And the way you set the date that it begins in is you come into the monthly grocery list. I'm going to double click in this start date cell, and then I'm going to select something else. So let's say I need to start planning for January. I like to start my weeks on a Monday. So I'm going to select January 2nd. That is a Monday. And if I come into my calendar, I'm going to have my calendar beginning January 2nd. And this will also be updated in each of my 5 weekly sheets. So this is my first weekly sheet, and it starts on Monday, January 2nd. And then I have every other day of the week to the right. And then the second week starts on January 9th. So if I come here, this is January 9. Now, I'm going to talk about this whole section in a moment. I'm going to start with the weekly sheets, and then I'm going to come back in here. So each of your weekly sheets is exactly the same. I'm going to use an empty one so you can see very quickly how everything works. So pretty much you get every single day of the week. So you have 7 sections that look like this one. Then you have these 2 separate sections, and then you have your final grocery list. So the most important thing to remember in these daily sections is that you should only edit cells that have a white background. So you should only edit this, and this. And the way this works is you're gonna select your meals from the drop down. Immediately, these ingredients appeared here. If I select my new dinner idea, then those ingredients are going to appear here. And as you can see, I used to have 1 banana when I had oatmeals with bananas. Then my dinner idea had 1 banana as well, so now I have 2 bananas here. So this is actually being pulled automatically from this dish ingredient section. So if you look at oatmeal and banana, I have 1 bag of oatmeal and 1 piece of banana. And then if you look at my new dinner idea, I have 1 banana, 1 boneless chicken breast, and 1 egg. So if I come back here, I have 2 bananas, 1 boneless chicken breast, 1 egg, and the oatmeal. And you can edit this by using these manual sections. So let's say I actually need 3 bananas for some reason. So if I add 1 other banana, then it's going to be added up here. Now let's say I don't want the eggs. So I'm gonna do -1 eggs, and that brought my eggs down to 0. And I left the zeros there because you're gonna be able to filter them out in the final grocery list. For now, they're still gonna show just so you know that ingredient used to exist in one of these ideas. Let's delete this, and let's just keep oatmeal with banana. Now let's say you are actually having someone over, and instead of 1 portion, you want 3 portions. So if you change that here, every single one of your quantities will be multiplied by this number. Now let's say you actually don't want this to be added to your list for some reason. Maybe it's a leftover, so you can just select this skip drop down, and then the items won't be pulled into this table. And then if I add my new dinner idea, then that's going to be pulled. If I multiply it by 2, my quantities are multiplied by 2. If I skip it, then that's gone. Now let's delete this. And I can also choose my items not to be loaded automatically by clicking on this checkbox. If I remove it, my items are not being pulled automatically. And as you have probably realized, whenever an item is being pulled automatically, this turns green and you get this label. So if it's not being added automatically, it's a white background and you don't get any label. If there's something you want to add manually, you edit it here. You should never edit it here or the sheet will break. So what you see here is what I will call your final list of items for the day. And the way your final grocery list will be created is it's going to add up all of these items, which already include these items, but it's going to add up these items with these items, with these items, and so on every single day. And then it's also going to include this section and this section. So all of those things are going to be pulled together into one final grocery list that will make all of your items unique and will update the quantities based on what you entered on every single one of your sections. So when you look at this, you can think this is my final list for the day, and whatever I add here is mostly used to manipulate this list. If you want to, for some reason, to look up ingredients included in some of the meals, so let's say oatmeal and banana, then down here you're gonna find those ingredients whenever you select something from the drop down. So this drop down has every single idea, and this drop down, each section has only their corresponding idea. So these 3 rows only have breakfast ideas, these ones only have lunch ideas, these ones only have dinner ideas, and these ones only have snack ideas. So if you choose, for example, not to add them automatically, let's skip new dinner idea, and for some reason you want to add it manually, you can copy these items. You can go ahead and paste them here. Super important, you have to copy only these 2 columns, the quantity and the item, because this one is automated. So if you copy that one as well, you're going to mess up the formula. So you have to only copy this section and then paste it here. And you can also paste it here. You can paste it on any of these areas except for this one. I'm going to talk about that later. You can also paste it here, but you should never paste it in your common item section. As you can see, that throws an error. And these are just links to quickly jump to different sections. So anything that looks blue like this, it's a link, and you can use it to jump between sections. And now every single day works exactly the same way up until this point. So these 2 areas are the places where you can add items that are not necessarily tied to a specific day, or you can also remove items by decreasing quantities. So let's say in here I want to also do oatmeal with banana, and I also want to do my new dinner idea. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing on Monday. I'm gonna delete these numbers. So these Monday and Sunday look exactly the same. So I ended up with 4 bananas, 2 oatmeal, 2 eggs, and 2 boneless chicken breasts. Now let's say I actually just want 1 boneless chicken breast. So I can do -1, and then that brought it down to 1. And in this area, I have my common items. This area and this drop down is the only drop down that has these household items included. So this list is the one that you're gonna find in these drop downs. And it's very important that you never copy and paste these cells between these 2 sections. So for example, you can copy this in here, but you shouldn't copy that in here. This is breaking the spreadsheet. And whatever you have here, so let's do laundry detergent. You should never copy that here, or you'll break the spreadsheet. So this area is only for common household items. And as you can see, I did -1 boneless chicken breast and -1 boneless chicken breast again, and now my chicken breast is gone. So I can use these checkboxes here to decide if I want zeros and negative numbers to be shown. So let's show zeros. Right now my boneless chicken breast is down to 0 because I used to have 2 and then I decreased it twice. So I'm gonna remove that. And I have 2 boneless chicken breasts. In here, I have 1 laundry detergent. If I do -1 laundry detergent, now I have 0. And that's showing because I actually want it to show because I checked this box. If I don't want it to show, I just uncheck the box. And if I want it to show and I want it to be scratched, then I check this scratch checkbox. Same for negative numbers. If for some reason you end up with negative numbers, because it could happen, you could do -10, instead of -1, and that disappeared because I chose not to show negatives. But I can choose to show negatives, and I have -9 now, and I can choose to scratch them. Now I'm gonna explain the reason why I allow negative numbers and how you can take advantage of it. So from feedback I got from other people, some of you like to do this. You like to just add your items and not add any quantity to it. So for example, I need shampoo, avocado oil, conditioner, but I'm not gonna add a quantity to it just so I can skip that step. So if I don't allow for zeros, then you wouldn't be able to do that. So you can choose if you want zeros to be something that's completely gone from your list, and you do that by keeping these 2 boxes unchecked, or you can choose to show zeros but not show negatives. So if you're the type of person that wants zeros to be shown, you also need the ability to delete things from your grocery lists and have them be completely gone. So you can leverage negatives in that way. So for example, I do want to show zeros, but let's say I want to get rid of my eggs. So I could come in here and I could do, keep an eye on eggs. I could do -3 eggs. And now they're gone because I have my negatives box unchecked. And then you can also choose to scratch your zeros, or you can choose to show your negatives but scratch them. And for some of you, this might not make sense, and it's totally fine. Just keep these unchecked. Negatives and zeros are going to be gone. They were never there. You don't have to scratch anything. So I just added this section to keep it flexible. But if it only makes sense to you that zeros or negatives are something that fully disappears from your list, just keep these 2 boxes unchecked. And then there's this counter showing you how many of your items are zeros and how many are negatives. So it's entirely up to you how you use this. And then you can sort by category or by item name. So this is sorting by item name, and this is sorting by category. And once you actually have more things filled out, let's come into this cell. It's really useful because you can sort your list in a way that all items for the same category are grouped together. So this makes the actual shopping a lot easier. So every single one of the 5 weekly sheets work the exact same way. I realize some of you might shop twice a month instead of weekly, and some of you might shop monthly. So I included a monthly grocery list area in which you can decide which weeks you want to be joined into a final monthly grocery list. So if I uncheck all of this, all I'm seeing is these items right here. So these 2 tables are the final way that you have to edit your grocery list. So I'm gonna delete everything. And now it's gone. So everything that I do here will alter the final monthly grocery list that is shown here. And this is created using the final grocery lists of every week that I check this box. So I'm gonna uncheck everything, and I'm just gonna leave week 4. That's the one that we were working on. So you can decide if you want zeros and negatives to be shown and if you want them to be scratched. So I'm not gonna show them right now. And then any final edits that you need to make to this monthly grocery list, you can do here. So let's join together week 4 with, let's do another empty week. Let's do week 2. And let's just add something here. Let's add strawberries and let's add shampoo. Let's add 2 shampoos. So if I come into my monthly grocery list and I also select week 2, I also have strawberries and shampoos. And I can choose to get rid of those strawberries here. So now they're gone. And I can decrease my shampoo quantity, and I can also increase my shampoo quantity, and I can also increase my strawberries quantity. So this is just one list that will consolidate any week that you choose, plus the items that you add or remove here, plus the items that you add or remove here. And this is also the common items area. So the same thing applies. You should never copy and paste in between these 2 sections. And this is fully automated. You should never edit anything on any of your grocery lists other than selecting one of these from the drop-down and checking and unchecking these boxes. Now let's say you want to bring your list digitally on your phone into the grocery store. So the reason I didn't add a checkbox here is since this is completely dynamic. If I, for example, add an X here to mark it as done, you're gonna get this because you shouldn't be doing this. But I'm gonna say it's okay for a moment. So let's say I put an X there because I already bought bananas. Since this list is completely dynamic and this is manual, if I add, for example, something that would go up here like avocado oil, which I have in my common items, then the X remained. It's no longer associated to bananas, and now it's associated to avocado oil. So since this is completely dynamic, whenever you make a change, this will no longer apply. But I did leave that area in case you want to print this. If you want to be able to have checkboxes, I also added this digital checklist area. So originally it looks like this, and it's just a very simple checklist that you can manually fill out however you like, and you can also fill it out with these items. So if you want to directly edit the list without using these areas to add or remove, you can just select this, starting on quantity. Very important, you have to start on the quantity column. So you select those, you copy, you can do command copy, and then you come in here, you right click, and you have, very important, you have to paste it this way so you don't mess up the scratching effect. So you're gonna select paste special values only. That way we keep our scratching effect and our formatting. And then if you want to make any changes here, so you can do 6 bananas, 20x, you can change anything directly here, you can add notes here, and then you can check these boxes once you're actually doing your grocery shopping. And then you have this calendar section that is going to pull every single one of your meals from its corresponding day. So for example, on week 1, if I go into Monday, I have all of these meals associated to that day, and those are showing up here. So this is filled automatically, and you should never ever edit this area. So in this section, these are just links This is just a calendar for your own reference. You don't have to edit anything here. It's just useful to see how your changes will be applied to the big calendar. So this is exactly the same way your big calendar will look. It will now start on Wednesday, January 4. And if you come in here, Wednesday, January 4. So this is just for reference. And then this expense tracker area, it's just a little extra that I added. So it's gonna start off empty. You're gonna start by manually writing your budget for each of your weeks. You're never going to edit this directly, and you're never going to edit this directly. So once you actually pay for something, you can double click here. So let's say I grocery shopped on January 2nd. That was $98 assigned to week 1. And as you can see, my actual amount changed and my difference updated as well. So then let's do next day. I spent $10 also assigned to week 1. And now these two amounts are added up in week 1. And if I do that and I assign it to week 2, then that works exactly the same way. So the date doesn't really matter. What matters is your selection right here. The date is just for your own reference, but it's not going to actually assign it to any week. Your weekly selection is what's going to assign it to the corresponding week. So if I assign everything to week 1, then it gets all added up in week 1. And throughout the template, I added some notes. So if you see this black triangle on any cell, you can just come into that section, either hover over it or click, and you're gonna get some notes where I explain that section to you just in case you forget and you just need a little tip. And you can totally delete them by right-clicking and selecting delete notes. And I also created an extra video in which I try to get ahead to questions you might possibly have, like sorting, deleting, possible errors, changing the currency of your mini expense tracker. So I'll leave the list of those questions that I'll be answering in the description down below, as well as the link to the video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. And thank you so much for watching.